Hello and welcome to Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by Michael Hamflett, where we do precisely that. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts, where we preview and review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, Dynamite, Collision sometimes, pay-per-views, premium live events. We answer your questions, have wrestler interviews on occasion, host roundtable discussions, and host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. Now, a slight tweak to the format today. We will get to your questions in due course. Thank you very much for those who, again, asked us questions today or yesterday. You can do so in future at M. Sidgwick or at Michael Hamflett or at WhatCulture WWE, depending if you follow us on X. So we do a Friday podcast, or a couple, in fact. We do a SmackDown preview, if you like some self-indulgent nonsense. We do the roundup of the week, as aforementioned, on WhatCulture. We used to weekly preview Collision, but it's not necessarily a show that lends itself to a preview. You know who's going to win the matches, basically. We know the Collision deal by now, and we'll get to Collision imminently as well, very briefly. But as part of this, we thought, right, okay, well, Collision's becoming unpreviewable because it's not necessarily an episodic TV show. At least it wasn't. So we thought, right, we'll do Q&As, and then if there's like a viral trend, we might hop on that and just mix up the format a little. One idea we did have a few weeks ago that, for whatever reason, certain things didn't pop off on Twitter/X, we thought we would do Dadley Discourse Hour, where we would pick the discourse, the stupid talking points on X and across pro wrestling fandom, and have a little irreverent view of those things and a little chat about them. But we thought we're going to soft launch it as a little mini pilot before the Q&A today, because there's two things that have been chatted about on X this week that I thought, I want to talk about these. Yeah. So if you like this sort of discussion, let us know on X, at M. Sidgwick, at Michael Hamflett. Just let us know if you would like to see a feature-length version of what we're about to do. The idea would be whatever 5 talking points dominated the discourse cycle, we'd just chat about, take the piss out of, have an earnest discussion about, or if it's actually not worth a discussion, talk about why it isn't worth a discussion. But there's 2 things that have popped off that we'll just talk about. Let's just shoot the breeze, huh?
Shoot the breeze.
Number 1 is Dave Meltzer's chat about Will Ospreay, his look, how he presents himself on TV, the differences between WWE, which is obviously more effective a promotion, and AEW, and how they do it. Now, Dave Meltzer has very much attempted to clarify he does not want to see Will Ospreay specifically wearing a suit, but he did bring up wearing suits as part of a superstar look, or he also mentioned Seth Rollins with his big flamboyant weekly outfits and just a way of positioning yourself as a star. And he took umbrage with what Will Ospreay wore on Dynamite, which, if you missed it, was a pretty expensive Stone Island jacket that has a certain stigma in the UK that evidently is lost on American audiences, or at least Dave Meltzer, where it's worn by football fans and it has that sort of raggy, hooligan-y, lads kind of thing. If you get the badge in, you also get the bags in, apparently. The Stone Island badge. But that's what Will Ospreay wore, and I thought he looked quite smart. And elsewhere he wears, he doesn't look like you can have... I think it was Dave Meltzer's take was he doesn't have a look you can merchandise, which is odd considering his football,
soccer... He wears the blacksmith Will Ospreay tops half the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he wears
merchandise.
He's English. To me, honestly, that is a little bit... Oh, he's English. Yeah. So you can wear a football top, and it's obviously Ospreay's choice. There's a lot of expression in AEW. I like it as a look. You can see them in the crowd. You could infer from that it's working.
Probably the best-selling item that I can remember at last year's All In.
Yeah.
At Wembley. The thing I remember more is the Ospreay football top.
So the football top. So he's got... I feel like he's kind of done it.
Yeah.
Right. This is a bit disingenuous, perhaps. Dave Meltzer did seek to clarify Will Ospreay probably shouldn't wear a suit. Should Will Ospreay wear a suit, or should he dress better for you?
I don't think a suit is necessary unless I think this is a pretty simple one, isn't it? Like if the context allows, I'm not calling for Will Ospreay heel turn or Will Ospreay to have a night where he wants to be the flashiest version of himself. But should that night occur, wear the suit. Like as is, I think the most comfortable he is, the better he's going to perform.
Yes.
That sounds almost too obvious for its own good. And I would hate to be trying to like teach my granny how to suck eggs in terms of Dave Meltzer.
Without whom we would not be sitting in these chairs right now.
Like I feel sort of almost uncomfortable. Like even saying, come on, Dave, don't be stupid and a grotesquely ugly freak. You know this business better than I ever will. It's a brass eye joke. Dave Meltzer's incredible for his age. Like
hunk back in the day. Yeah. With that mullet.
Jiggity jacked. I love seeing
when
him
he's doing his
the flare matches in the crowd.
Yeah.
Push that guy.
Yeah. Get him in. When he's got the mullet and he's talking about the steroid trial.
Yeah. Donahoe Dave.
Yeah.
There's a guy in a suit. Now there's a guy who wore a suit. No, I don't get it. And I don't get it. I think to your point, there are plenty of examples. I feel like you might have one in your back pocket about Dave guys in particular. Every now and then could think about what they wear on television.
Yes.
But I think Will was thinking about what he was wearing. I don't think this is something he just goes out there with what he was wearing that day. I think the football tops with the tracky bottoms are a choice. I think what he wore...
He's presenting himself as a super athlete.
Yeah. He was... Wednesday's promo was all about...
Does he think it's like, I don't know, Wraith Rovers? Or like,
Wednesday's promo, I thought what they wore... spoke to what they were saying.
Tagging them in Redbridge football tops because he likes them. It's like, it's a merchandisable item.
Hangman Page.
That people buy en masse.
Hangman Page dressed light again because at long last on the horizon.
And Meltzer was like, he's a cowboy. He's got the look sorted. He used Hangman as a comparison. He's got a character that you can a distinct character who dresses like the character.
And the colours are revealing that he's becoming a good guy again. Versus
so that's actually light what Hangman was wearing.
But in contrast, like Ospreay in his... might not look expensive to some, but it is expensive if you go and look at it. Talked about being on the Ascension. He's actually starting to dress for the job he wants, which is the World Heavyweight Champion. I thought that was a choice. Yeah. Beyond just wearing the football top and the trackies there. Happy to be here. I'm a super athlete. At any moment, I could tear these bad boys off and I'll be the best in the world out there. Yeah. This was, my job tonight is to come and tell you, Hangman, sorry, it's my time, not yours. Yeah. No matter how good you're starting to feel about yourself again. I thought he got that right. Yeah. I'll be totally honest. His sartorial choice that night didn't leap out as a thing either way.
And that's what's so odd about this as a talking point.
But to leap to defense of Dave when typically he's criticised for his adoration of Will Ospreay, is this his guy who is like 99% perfect? And I think you've got a bit of this in you. Come on, give me the 1% to be 100. Like, and Dave just that day has been like, everything about you is perfect, Will Ospreay, but there's this one thing I would like you to fix. And it's this, and it's like he's looking for that one last percent to make him his 100% guy. Yeah. Of all the people to pick up on like a Will Ospreay flaw, Dave Meltzer would be the last one. But at this point, it's like, yeah, but can I improve on perfection? I think I can. Yeah. Like, is it only Dave Meltzer that would have picked up on that because he already sees Will Ospreay as this near perfect professional wrestler?
Yeah. So my take on this, before we get to the second talking point, right, is Will Ospreay, like the vast majority of professional wrestlers ever, it's a total outlier if this doesn't happen to you. We're talking the Kurt Angles, the Akiyamas, has a bit of growing pains as he discovers himself and starts to approach his final form. Oh, my neck! He has had accusations thrown, he's not selling enough, a total overcorrection where he starts howling in agony and it's a bit much and he's obviously dropped it, you know? Yep. Another Will Ospreay, who's obviously the best wrestler in the world, and his promo the other night was great, and he pretty much is the full package at this point, was he had a misadventure in New Japan Pro Wrestling where he started when he was playing heel and he started to really dress. He went the other way. He dressed like, he had that Conor McGregor look of this sort of garish, loads of money. That's my phone. Who cares? And he just looked like he was playing the role of a pro wrestling villain. Will Ospreay, for me, his core appeal is that he simply, I mean, God bless him. I think he's amazing. Might not even know what the word pretentious means. He just totally lacks pretension. Yeah. And that is an incredibly relatable thing about him as
it's
a babyface pro wrestler.
It's that 80s song that you say can't be written anymore. Yeah. Will Ospreay is the closest it could get to that because he's still real.
He's an earnest guy who's relatable. He will speak openly and candidly about his flaws. and he just is who he is. It's very much like he's an open book.
Here, man, we saw him for WCPW. I'll sit in the wheelbarrow chair, wrestle in a suit in a Dave Meltzer 5? Or Dave Meltzer 4 and 3?
It was a 4.5.
4.5 against Drew McIntyre.
It's one of his lowest rated matches ever.
Yeah. He wore his gear and it started in a suit for some reason. Will Ospreay, over the course of this build of Hangman Page, is going to do something awesome in a suit now, isn't he?
He should do.
He knows what he's got his finger on the pulse online.
It's just an odd talking point in general, I thought.
The hair is the Ospreay thing at the moment over the last sort of 12 months.
When we did, and cheap plug, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling podcast channel on YouTube for all of it, if anything. It's all good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
We are going to soon resume the best match ever series. One of the matches we picked was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 2 Forbidden Door. Will Ospreay's hair looked 100 times better in 2023.
Yeah. That's always a work in progress, isn't it?
Is it one of those things, though, where I recall, right, Dominic Mysterio, obviously he's trying to, draw comparisons to Eddie Guerrero as he was on the turning heel. I thought, why the hell is he wearing a mullet? And then I look around, because I'm in my 30s, but my late 30s, and I'm like, all right, loads of young lads have got mullets, they're just in, and I don't know. I have this thing with curtains. It's like floppy side parting gimmick that Will Ospreay is rocking right now, where I just identify that with like Dusty Ballers from the Premier League in the early 90s and boy bands. I just think that's years out of fashion. Maybe it's in and we just don't know.
Like 90s clothes.
I'm sat here looking like back in Fat Mac out of It's Always Sunny.
Like 90s clothes came back in like probably 5 years ago or something, so they'll soon be on their way out.
Yeah.
Like there's a cycle that never stops repeating.
So maybe his hair is fashionable. It just doesn't look fashionable to us. One thing I will say is that Dave Meltzer has picked the strangest target imaginable for a salient point. And you know who needs to... Kenny Omega, man. Kenny Omega. Those shorts that he comes out in when he does his promos, it's like, what are you doing here?
Off the gaming chair and onto television.
Yes, it's like you look like you're not trying.
You highlighted this when he switched from that to suits, as if to say that he didn't respect his team with Hangman Page.
Yes.
As like almost as if like previously it was a choice, but then like the shorts and the t-shirt just stick around when he's a babyface, don't they?
Yeah.
Like that's just just what he wore to the building that
day. I don't understand. Like I think Meltzer should have dug him out. I mean, Kenny Omega's my favorite wrestler of all time, but sometimes when I see him on those shorts on TV, I'm like, I'm fighting for you, dude. There are people who say that you don't have it in, and he's the most intelligent wrestler I think ever. But why? And I understand that he will like use contrast and the like to, like with the Hangman Page stuff. Well, those shorts look horrendous. If you're going to do the super athlete thing, like Roman Reigns is the new model for that. With that trackie, he looked amazing. I was just going to ask you on the spot. I know, like off the top of your dick, best non-gear promo attires. Do you know what I mean? Like wrestlers that look like they've come dressed for work, but technically not work. I always thought Shawn Michaels was amazing at that. 90s Shawn. Yeah.
Out in his like jeans and his t-shirt to do commentary or whatever.
Yeah.
He's going straight to the club.
Yes.
Unless he's putting his tights on. Roman Reigns in the tracksuits when he was like just peak champion here in the last couple of years. Like, what are the sort of other examples, the ones that get that absolutely bang on? I think Angle wore a tracksuit well. Like the velour tracksuit, Team Angle years.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a great deal. It's weird because half of them just wear their own merch and some jeans. So why is it a problem for any other company and for any other wrestler? Anyway, that's that. Let's talk about Javon. Right, okay. I took a screenshot of this. Bear with me because I could live to 100 and be woefully incapable of just decoding what the hell this dude's talking about. So Ricochet says, I'll squash him about Javon Evans in this Sparks thing.
Ricochet, just to clarify, for those that aren't on X, and more power to you, if you're just enjoying bluer skies or whatever, he's kind of a bit of a mischief maker, isn't he? It's part in character at this point.
Ricochet,
he's enjoying going two-footed on WWE when given the chance, but a lot of it is just, I'm in a position where I can get into trouble. My character is allowing me to finally speak my mind a bit. He's at that like sort of 2018 Becky Lynch, I can just say a thing and people can take this any way they want thing. It's a real nice position for a wrestler being on Twitter. And I think that's where that came from.
So he says, Ricochet says, I'd squash him about Javon Evans, right?
Out of pocket.
Just
a bit of fun.
Javon Evans, right, says, my bad. I just got, he does the Ric Flair thing where it seems so difficult where the first letter of every word is capitalized. My bad. I just got done training at the Performance Center under Shawn Michaels, something that you don't have or do. But I bet your brown egg head ass would squash me if Tony told you to. I'm sure he would. An easy night's work. What does that last bit mean? And who's Javon Evans studying tape of, if not Ricochet, and not knowing that he spent years in Performance Center?
Javon Evans gets to be the guy. And look, people articulate things in different ways, but Javon Evans gets to be the guy that says, "Oh, you know the trends that you set. I'm the next generation of that. I'm taking it forward.
Yeah,
this is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah."
But he's 21. Give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, the folly of youth, and all that.
Yeah,
there's a pretty big age.
There are some thick wrestlers, including Ricochet, who said some dumbass stuff on social media and developed a rep before he leaned into it. Like that Yo Sky stuff from years ago. Had that ridiculous beef with Ethan Page, if you recall.
Didn't start well in AEW when he was the babyface, was it? It was all a bit muddled.
Yeah.
Right there.
So you can, mature in later in life. But I bet your brown egghead ass would squash me if Tony told you to.
Yeah, that's the business.
Thoughts? What?
I don't know what that, if Tony told you would squash me. Oh, so you say, you'd only squash me because the booker had let you.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So, and the idea, because your boss loves you at the moment, so yeah, you'd get to squash me, all right, but only because, there's an element of, in a real fight, I'd kick your ass, but I think in the wrestler mind, it's in a real jumping off the top rope off, in a real trampoline off, I'll jump higher. I'm bouncy.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I don't think it's charging a shoot fight. I think he's saying, all right, we're having a flip off then.
Yeah.
Who flips highest?
Yeah.
Go on then, old man. That might be the inference there, I don't know.
Ricochet replies, brother, I was learning from Shawn Michaels when you was 12. Then went on to become a multiple-time champion. Let me know when you win one. And yeah, if Tony asked me, I definitely would. Idiot. Javon Evans replies, you learned from HBK when I was 12 and became a multiple-time champion. Now you're wrestling in front of 2,000 people every week for a crackhead. It's all good stuff.
That's good stuff.
Talk about an upgrade, am I right? Javon Evans is not on the main roster, correct?
Correct.
Recent developments in the news cycle would indicate that it's no guarantee that you even make the main roster because he might get released first. How many people fit in that Performance Center? There's a ceiling fan and about 200 Floridians.
He's buzzing with his stand and deliver main event, isn't he? He works the PLEs and he gets those 10,000 houses that NXT gets every.
But if you look at it that way, AEW draws more than NXT. They do big pay-per-views. He debuted at Wembley.
Debuted at Wembley Stadium. It's
they get more on TV and as much, if not more, on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
PLE.
That's that, and I like that line, that 2000 thing line, because what that is NXT locker room morale boosting patter, isn't it? That is lifted.
What is wrong with the Performance Center?
That is lifted from a billion conversations they're having in the Performance Center where it's all huddle in. It's better being here, working to that generator over there. Because when we get out of here, it's
WrestleMania forever.
It's WrestleMania forever.
WrestleMania forever.
Not 2,000 seats, not empty hard camera sides. And I get that from a certain point of view about this idea of they're all in. They're in their mind. Wrestlers get it in their head that they're in trenches.
Yes,
billionaires trenches.
Yeah,
I don't get it, but wrestlers get in that mindset.
The psyche of the professional wrestler is scary and hilarious.
But that's definitely we rip the piss to this day about Bradshaw and the Dead Man. These goddamn WCW assholes. You won the company to win. Where the hell do you think you're coming from? We got to win us a war. What? That WCW t-shirt. It says WWF.com on the back.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Dumb ass idiot moron.
Billionaires trenches till they're dead. All of them.
So Javon Evans, I'm assuming, doesn't get the response from Ricochet. So in the last of a since deleted series of tweets, says, sounds like Mr. Khan isn't giving you enough attention. So you had to come for a successful ass youngin. You give me the most views on my post, and I'm finally helping you get the most attention you've ever had in your career. All love. Right, okay. There's two things I want to say on this. One, he has not burned a bridge. There are no bridges to be burned to professional wrestling. CM Punk returned to WWE for Christ's sake. Yeah. If he is amazing, or even if he isn't, Tony Khan will sign anyone. If he turns out to be amazing and his contract expires and AEW still kicking around and doing well and offering high deals, he might even bloody go. Mm-hmm. He might even do what Ricochet did, right? So I don't think he's burned a bridge here. It just does not happen. Second thing is, don't tweet. If you're a pro wrestler, it's probably best not to tweet or even open your mouth. Because when you do this sort of thing, I instantly think, right, well, you're an idiot. And you are so, in fact, so stupid that you just think, right, okay, if you're carrying around this attitude and you don't know when to open your mouth and when to shut it, this probably isn't an isolated event. You'll probably carry this attitude with you for a long time. Instantly, I think, right, well, his chances of going to WrestleMania are diminished on the back of that tweet. I don't know if that's an overreaction, but if you are that dumb and you're going to say that just ridiculous stuff, like, it's in fact so stupid that I don't think he's going to make WrestleMania, because if he ever gets booked, would he find the stadium?
Is there a cartoonish opposition to that of... Nice one, kid. You really got him there.
Maybe.
And, like, he gets... Like, strap him up sooner, if anything, if that's what he's tweeting. Like, Triple H had a pop about the grind when it came to Will Ospreay. He's got 4 burners. Like...
But doesn't listen to the fans.
Like, he was lashing out before WrestleMania because he could read criticisms of his booking. Like, I don't know. Can I just outright say this? Sometimes, like, we're not the biggest marks in the game. The wrestlers are.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
Hey, if Bret Hart said it, I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah. Not all the time, but sometimes. And this could be one of those examples where, like, there is that little bit of that BS. Who got him?
Get him, Javon.
And all of us, get him, Javon. Like, the dead man, like, has to drop back in. Forget LFG, I'm going to NXT, and I'm going to have myself a handshake with that young Javon Evans. And that's what gets him. Somebody reads a tweet, like, Booker T reads a tweet and is like, Bubba Ray Dudley reads a tweet.
Yeah.
Like, this pops up on Busted Up, and he got him, didn't he? Like, I don't want to go on off a rant here. Just puts him in good stead with that side that really loves this little bit of needle between the two sides and thinks it represents anything.
It's just odd. There's a culture in that PC of, like, is it like they get indoctrinated to hate AEW, the outside generally?
I don't know. I'd love...
Don't go to pause. Stay inside. They've got bunk beds in this performance center. They're so detached from reality.
In the recent wave of releases, more than a couple of names, and like a lot of wrestlers do this, and I would understand why, because you want to keep your value high and you want to choose your lane, because it's more than just where else am I going to wrestle. It could be where else am I going to make a living, or how else am I going to present myself in the aftermath. There's a few wrestlers.
And you work in front of the audience you have as well.
Yeah. Like
he knows that the NXT and WWE fans are going to love this.
Yeah, exactly. Like but some of the release wrestlers very much like are like, I'll have a lot to say when I can.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that might be in relation to. And then a few things appeared to reveal themselves following a couple of news reports. But I'm always interested in hearing released wrestlers' perspectives on the performance center, the ones that are willing to speak comfortably. Not burning bridges.
Willing to speak like it's a literal cult.
Because so many of them are scared, right? Have you noticed? Here's something that I've spotted.
It's a cult down there.
Hasn't it been fascinating in the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months that an entire generation of wrestlers are able to speak freely criticising Hulk Hogan? Have you not noticed the sea change there? Yeah. Like, because all of a sudden, politically, it does them no damage. Like
CM Punk can do it on Raw.
Yeah, like, but I think
the most thinly veiled kayfabe thing ever.
Like, he did it when he was carrying around the spinner belt as the WWE champion. Some people will just do it, but like, it was all that back then. It was this like incendiary thing to be like, ooh, like that's pretty bold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it okay to pop at Hogan? Like, him and Vince had that complex relationship, but he was always popping back. They were trying to find ways for him to, like, now, especially like after getting booed on Netflix in particular, I think everybody's like, well, all better off. You can say what you want about Hogan.
Yeah.
Like, WWE aren't going to punish you for that. If anything, they're going to be like, oh, that's going to get him a bit of Twitter.
And kids got balls.
Kids got balls.
Kids got balls.
That still doesn't exist with the Performance Center.
No.
There are still plenty of wrestlers who are going to, or WWE's processes is probably a better way to say this. There's still plenty of wrestlers who are going to be very careful about what they criticise about WWE's processes because WWE themselves will have told them the door's never shut. You know, like give it 6 months, keep working, the door's never shut. TNA, like if you're going to get signed with TNA, the first thing half of those wrestlers are going to think, be like, oh, might get myself back on NXT, and then you never know.
Yeah.
So then if you've gone on the record and said, oh, by the way, they had me frigging slamming those ropes against the thing and I managed to tear muscles in my arms.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, like the wrestlers that are injuring themselves in like bump class or whatever, there were like 50 old timers that would say like, what the hell are you doing taking a bump with the camera off?
Yeah.
Like there's a ring over there that's a crash pad. Bump on that.
Yeah.
Like there's all these little stories that come out after the fact. But as long as they think they're going to get back in, they're not going to want to talk negatively about it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or like it's got to be a Bill DeMott getting fired.
Yeah, that's actually...
Loved my time there. Hated Bill DeMott, but loved it. Wasn't he the head coach?
Yeah, didn't he like influence everything?
Other than him.
Just, it's... I want to see the Netflix documentary about the cult that is NXT. It is a cult down there.
Here's what's going to get criticised before people watch it, and I think people need to like watch it through different eyes than what they're going to go into. You know this Unreal? It's WWE Unreal that's starting. Watch, like, that is going to be a fantastic watch. Just dare to watch it through what else is happening than what's in the foreground. This is the same as those 24/7 documentaries, the Kevin Owens year in the life of whatever. Don't look at the foreground, look at the background.
Yeah.
There are going to be a million awesome takeaways from these things, but none of it's going to be what they're telling you or the narrator's saying. Another busy week in the creative fulcrum of
another triumph.
Yeah, there's someone in the background. It's like sort of trying to hold back being sick.
Yeah,
like upon hearing a terrible idea, scrubbing something else off the board and looking deflated that their idea has been canned or whatever. There's so much to glean from.
Yeah,
like they always think, we're going to let the cameras in, and the fans are going to get like something they've never seen before. And you do.
Yeah.
Just not in the way that they expect.
Not in the way that is expected. Should we crack on with the Q&A?
Go on, let's do it.
We've got the first question. It's from an M. Sidgwick, and it is, why haven't you reviewed Collision this week? I feel like I'm anticipating these questions because Collision was real damn good and really well received. It was a scheduling thing. It was a do we have time to watch it thing because Hamflett's... No. It was basically, we didn't know if we'd have the chance to do all the detailed notes and cover it in the way that you've come to expect and demand, and rightfully so. But I thought I wouldn't get the chance to watch it. Turns out I did. I woke up too bloody early and I didn't have as much to do as I thought this morning. And it was real damn good. Some fleeting highlights before we get to your actual questions. Ricochet, Zach Gowen out of nowhere is pretty fun.
That's a graphic drop and a half for Dynamite.
Graphic drop and a half. The match should be tremendous. Watching Ricochet get his comeuppance will be tremendous. He'll win, but the hope spot will be great. It was always pretty damn easy to get heat on Zach Gowen, and quite frankly, it was always blackly hilarious, knowing that you would get something back as well. That was great. Speedball Mike Bailey could wrestle anyone and have a great match. I think that was his modus operandi on the indie circuit. He had a match with Dralistico that kind of melted my face. Dralistico's very uneven. He's had some great matches, to be fair.
And it's only been a month.
Some terrible performances at the same time.
It's only been a month. Recency bias, etc., etc., etc. I wanted to speak to you about this specifically. Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey were the last two that you were like vocal about in your...
Don't come.
Do not come. Like... Is this throwing you all the way back to, now we have to have the conversation every single time about a release wrestler? Do we have to go back to the situational discussion? Because that's two in a row that you'd be like, they were brilliant. That was the right call. Like, is this throwing us all the way back to actually we do need to assess every single wrestler case by case?
If the names that are prominent on Dynamite right now, this happens for another 3 months in the build to All In, where... well, the same wrestlers are wrestling every week, and it's not boring because they've got interesting paths, and we're not doing... I mean, Zach Gowen's obviously hit ball out the blue house as Rhino, but that feels like it became the model for a while, and now it's like a supplement.
They're like Marty Jannetty working Nitro, those two.
Yeah.
That's
If there's 3 months of this, all right, well, Takeshita's in a match again, and Ospreay, and the Bucks, and Ricochet's just on every week, and Swerves, and all the rest of it. In 3 months, I'm going to start welcoming new signings again, where I was dreading it after a while.
As I'm getting all the friggin' losers back.
And Speedball Mike Bailey is just so unbelievably awesome. Rapidly falling in love with that dude.
Stuck with lower mid-card friggin' Miro and Malachi Black.
We'll just come to the...
Flip the other way, man.
Come to the promised land.
Hate watching the pendulum swing.
come to the promised land. Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander was not as good as the pay-per-view match, but it was a damn good bit of business. Great finish as well, like actual, and this is happening more often than it isn't really effective heat on the Death Riders. And god damn it, I was so prepared to go, ugh, when it was Daniel Garcia faces a member of FTR. Wait there one second. Michael Hamflett, who was it?
Oh, so let me think. So I've got Cash Wheeler, Stokely Hathaway, or Dax. I think I'm going to go with Dax.
It was Dax Harwood. Like, why even go to the bother? Maybe it was like there's just this extra bit of meta heat where, because they're heel now, they want the heat and not just this inviting it upon themselves as baby faces for reasons I'll never be able to adequately explain. Maybe it was a big thing where the idea was you meant to go, oh, God, of course it's Dax Harwood. He always bloody wants to be in the singles matches. So
maybe kayfabe rationale that Garcia couldn't prepare.
Probably, but maybe the real quiz was Dax again. And I did think, oh, God, it's funny enough, it was Dax Harwood coming out to wrestle. 15 minutes later, my face is melting. This match is incredible. Like, Daniel Garcia shown so much battle and balls and guts that there's spit drooling out of his face. Like, Dax Harwood's bleeding all over the place. They're punching each other. The drama's unbelievable for an episode of Collision. They do this bit where, like, Dax is going up to Nigel McGuinness and they look like they're going to have a match. And, like, McGuinness is like, what you doing? I'm retired just like your hair. That was a great line. This match was unbelievable. And we'll get to your questions, I'm sorry, imminently. Like, I described them on Twitter. Daniel Garcia is like a Sisyphus pro wrestler. And there's a lot of these in WWE, Lyra Valkyria and the like, where no pap. Mm-hmm. Oh, to them, whatever. They get the audience into it with their in-ring brilliance or their in-ring greatness or just how good they are in the ring, and then for whatever reason it just resets, the boulder rolls back down that hill and they don't really get a pop or generate that much interest. No one's really fantasy booking them for the main events, and then through sheer force of their own greatness or their own promise they'll get these reactions. It would be nice on the strength of this performance. It's the most I've been taken by Daniel Garcia, even more than his vaunted C2 matches. Genuinely, I thought this match with Dax well worth going out of your way to see, Hamflett. And if you haven't caught Collision, watch this main event. It's so awesome. And so those are my thoughts on Collision. Good episodic TV program when I was expecting dark on TV. So apologies for not reviewing it. Let's get to your goddamn questions. The first one comes from Liam York. What do you think are the all-time best, most lasting t-shirt designs in pro wrestling? Obvious would be the NWO and Austin 316, but I think the Punk Best in the World Ringer and even the classic Hulkamania are up there. The thing with Hulkamania is I don't think it gets that much play as a classic design. It was more like the whole general aesthetic and color scheme of Hulkamania. That was obviously a merchandising sensation and this great iconic look, but as a t-shirt, he wasn't in wrestling or didn't peak as Hulk Hogan when all the wrestlers just wore their own t-shirt as if to say, sell it, sell it, sell it. That happened a few years later. So I wouldn't say it's an iconic iconic logo, color scheme. Yes, absolutely. For me to add to that list, I liked the basic general gist here. So if you've got a black cotton t-shirt with a simplistic, understated, cool white or grey design, you're going to make a load of money. And I do know why wrestling moved away from it, because you have to move away from everything before it comes back. How has that not come back into fashion? If I'm a wrestler right now, knowing how like massive Austin 316 and NWO was, and the DX one looked great, that first DX, when I had that when I was a kid, it was my favorite wrestling t-shirt. I would go, right, okay, I need not these millions of t-shirts. Then again, maybe that is the market. They are going after a smaller amount of fans, super fans in these parasocial days.
That's the change.
And they'll buy all of them. They'll buy all of them. So I am looking at it through an old lens, but my God, I would be thinking, right, I'm going to I'll spend a lot of money on this, I'll invest and give them the money, the graphic designers, say, give me the simplest, best logo you can. Put it in white, set it in white, and then put it on a black tee and sell it. Because DX, like, look at the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
That Bullet
Club was the last one. That was a spiritual sequel to the NWO as a stable and as a piece of merch, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got them into Hot Topic.
My personal favorite, and I'm not really a big wrestling t-shirt buyer. I appreciate them. The Cody Rhodes threatened redesign. Just the idea of it before you saw it, and then like the cigars instead of the guns, and like the bleached hair over there. It was just, he took something that people genuinely held sacred and thought, I'll tinker with that.
One of my favorite,
great character bit.
I love this stuff. I love wrestling aesthetics. One of my favorite things I ever saw from like a wrestling aesthetic point of view, and just how amazing it looked, and how it really hit something that I love, which is like wrestlers that fundamentally don't change their look, but like adjust their colours to suit a certain situation.
Yeah.
CM Punk is brilliant at this. Seth Rollins is pretty good at this, or was. I did the tour of the Pro Wrestling Tees shop and factory in Chicago, and they had this canvas on the wall of about, I don't know, 30 different Bullet Club designs, all as like one big thing. And it was so cool to see like how you can take one logo and make a little change, whether it be the Cody Rhodes one, the Halloween one, remember all them Bullet Club variants that you could get whenever anybody would join, Hangman Club, whatever, just one after another after another. The bones of each one was the same, but the little change had somebody buying that one.
Yeah.
And there'll be somebody that has all of them in their house.
Yes.
And that's kind of like, again, that's like the old way set to the new purchasing model.
Yeah.
Where like somebody wants to be the collector, somebody wants to say they've got them all or whatever. And I think that's why it's hard now for one to become iconic, because wrestlers do mix it up. I love wrestlers that are in sync with the importance of their merchandise. Like, I really love it. Sometimes I love it. Like, I like wrestlers.
More the matches?
Often. I often like a wrestler's connection with their branding and presentation more than their connection with what they're doing belt to belt. Like, this conversation came up over WrestleMania weekend. It was at Stand and Deliver, and then again at WrestleMania.
You've been to America, have you?
Back row at Stand and Deliver, and you look down, and it was my cousin, shout out Nick, who made this point.
Shout out Nick, great guy.
Absolute legend. He made this point of like, God, Steve Austin was the best, wasn't he? You know, you have that point. You know, you have the excuse all the time in wrestling. Like, Steve Austin was the best at all of us, wasn't he? We were looking forward, and the backs of T-shirts, obviously the fronts would have had whatever they had on them. The amount of skulls you could see over WrestleMania weekend, because you will see every wrestling T-shirt over WrestleMania weekend, that's a guarantee. But the amount of skulls, and it could have been different branded skulls, whatever. Steve Austin merch ultimately was in front of you. John Cena merch was in front of you. CM Punk merch was in front of you. Me and you at Wembley. It was Punk, wasn't it?
Punk everywhere, yeah.
That, so savvy with knowing like either when to release, or the one he wears on television is like, whether because he wants to lift the sales or he spotted that that's the ones that are trending upwards. He's like, right now, send that into overdrive. Like, certain wrestlers get it. There's some really great John Cena backstage footage from like in his boom run, let's say at WrestleMania 27, maybe, whatever. And he goes like he's in the bowels of one of these WrestleMania stadiums, right? And some of the merch people are like, what are you doing here? And all he is looking upon T-shirts, and it's just the orange brand, I think it was. T-shirt after T-shirt after T-shirt after T-shirt. He's like people are making the choice to spend the money. And like, I've come down before it goes out onto the merch stands. Yeah. I know that I am this merchandised guy, but I want to see how it looks on the wall. Yeah. So, you know, those little displays. Yeah. It's like, right, my T-shirt's there. I want my chain to go there, or I want my thing to go there. Like, more wrestlers should think in these terms, in my opinion. Austin talking about becoming friends with a merch designer. Yeah. Like, you would when Austin 316 and you've got a broken neck and you're getting a 6-figure check. I love the dropping every month in the mailbox.
Blood drip Austin 316 as well.
They re-released that for this Mania season, and there was no shirt I saw more. The Blood from a Stone one with the thing on the back.
When Austin 316, but like in the blood drip.
Yeah, like he had like real ugly ones in the 98 period. Remember, like there was like a skeleton like in the jeans, blue and white.
Vaguely.
Like, flipping the bird. There was a snake that said bed to the bones. It was BONZ.
Yeah.
Ugly ass stuff, but like totally of the time. And it was that, well, it's Steve Austin, so I want it. Yeah. I got to the arena and I want something that reflects like.
Another iconic one for me, ECW. And you know, if you don't know, Taz designed that amongst others. And as with virtually everything ECW did, set the template for other promoters to make more money from it. Yeah. That idea of, and it was in sync with the idea of it's too colourful. Like, pro wrestling is too garish, too multicolored. I've not seen what's going on in the wider zeitgeist. And Taz was the first. Well, Heyman and Taz were like, right, okay, well, why don't we do that with the T-shirts? And it was this simple white on black, understated, like, design.
It's one of the great ironies, we've talked about this before. Like, remember one of the very first digs at AEW T-shirt company? Because like they'd funded it off of T-shirt money or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't make amazing shirts.
No.
AEW's got like a really mixed run with shirts.
No.
Let's clap your arms.
Name a single original iconic AEW T-shirt design in 5 seconds.
Well, a bitch AF, John Moxley's.
Not really.
No. I feel like they've landed on one, and there's somebody in the comments who'll be like, that one, and we've just forgotten it.
The Britt Baker one with the blood drew controversy without being this, like, there's not...
the Kiss shirt after she wrestled Thunder Rosa.
I mean, I guess that might count, but like,
for it, isn't it?
AEW, the T-shirt company, doesn't have Austin 316, NWO, DX, EC, F&W.
Punk's
merch is great.
sequel was good.
But I think that's a WWE. It's not a WWE pattern, but it's
he gets his branding and
he worked out that branding years before AEW even existed.
What's been the best MJF shirt?
I think he's had many good ones.
I'll tell you what it was. It was the print of the picture of him and Punk with the bloody handprint on. The market after he beat him up.
There's just not been an amazing one.
No.
The AEW logo's good, not great.
Yeah, I would say
great because the company has been great.
Like them jackets that they made with the grey.
And I do like the LGBTQ design. I think it's a very nice thing to do, and it's just, it pops. But there's no iconic AEW T-shirt.
Not for a wrestler, not yet.
Maybe Dave Meltzer's got a bloody point there. The next question comes from Ms. Bunny Girl, who says, with how absolutely stacked the AEW women's division has become between the main roster and Ring of Honor, is now the time to introduce a set of women's tag belts. I feel like such a dickhead bloke when I say this, because my first impulse is no more belts, and you can build programs without having titles, and if there's a women's tag team division, that just means post Mercedes, the TBS title will drop off the face of the earth because with there being one women's match on Dynamite. In reality, the sad answer to the question is no, because it would have this ripple effect, this domino effect on other titles or other singles wrestlers just being, boom, even more sort of like marginalized than they already are. But if you want to talk about parity and representation, I mean, why the hell not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A fantasy counter to that, because I think you're right. I think the reality is always what it's going to be. Tony Khan has got quite a knack for pairings.
This could be the solution.
That sparks something creative in him. It's like if he was able to put himself over in a bit of like an ego stroke for something acclaimed-esque in the women's division, then he'd be like, because that becomes his pet project. It's like, I've got that thing over.
And he does get preoccupied with these things, doesn't he?
Let's do more of it. And then suddenly some women that are otherwise getting very little exposure, like you only need to look at, like, who's the most recent example? Probably Harley Cameron and Anna Jay, but there has been various points. You're getting it again with Statlander and Willow now. They've found their way back to one another. Like, he's all right at friendships between women in the women's division. You can think of links between pairs, but it's always in service of a singles division that doesn't have enough time and attention. So if those friendships were to actually equal something more meaningful, now that they're actually fixing the belt situation in the singles men's division, and you're finally hoovering some of them up, there possibly might be space. Yeah, like it's fantasy realm stuff, but it would only take, like Willow and Stat right now, if they won a tournament to become tag team champions. Yes, and his job as a booker was to be like, I need 3 heel teams to kind of magic out of thin air. Those 6 women are going to get 10 times the exposure they were getting beforehand. So there's something to it. I mean, I don't like belts as a substitute for storytelling generally, but WWE have sort of gotten it half right. The US
it shouldn't be. I mean, so many bookers over the years have booked incredibly successful, deep, dramatic, well-drawing tag team divisions. Yeah, you know, it could happen. Yeah, I'm increasingly no longer resistant to the idea. 2 years ago, I would have thought no, but now I'm thinking any excuse to friggin' do something with all of this talent that you have. Soccer tangent. Matt Rains has asked, who wins the Champions League brackets? It's PSG, but it should be great. I'm inclined to agree. I think that their front 3 of Doué, Barcola, and the unbelievable Georgian player whose name I'll never, ever be able to pronounce in a million years. I'm a neutral I mean, I hate Arsenal. But I'm a neutral, really, when I watch Champions League games. I've got teams I like more than the others, but like I don't get that, don't concede. I like this team, or I like this manager, or I like this player, or it's Newcastle United, you know. Because they are so strikingly quick, every time they simply break this PSG front three, and they've got Donnarumma, and they've got a good midfield as well, I think you just get that, there's a goal, every single time. Like, there must be such a psychological advantage over opposition and opposition fans when they're in that stadium in the final of, oh God, and that, you know, impacts the players. Every time they cross the halfway line in a 3-on-4 situation, even, you think, oh my God, they're going to score. And I just think that'll happen so often over the course of the 90 minutes, and I think they will do it in 90, that they're going to do it. So thank you for your question, and we will proceed now with the wrestling questions, the next of which comes from Patrick T. Jenkinson. More than one bloody question. Cheeky. One, how would you book Mariah May in the Fed? 2, why is Billy Gunn? I've got some thoughts on all this, some of them crazy, so bear with me, right? Mariah May, if she goes to the Fed, I worry about it. I'm not saying that she has to be saucy to get over, but because it was such an unbelievable Hollywood ending to that program, and there was so many great highlights with the initial heel turn and the chemistry. So much of it was great that what will become lost to time, much like it did with pretty much everything in wrestling, right? Like, I don't think Punk and MJF had a bad week. There's certain programs that just simply didn't have a bad week or a bad segment. The longer they go, it's almost guaranteed. NWO's relentless heat. Like, people talk about the golden years of ECW. So many overlong main events. These things often get lost as the narrative gets reduced. I've found a lot of Mariah May's promos to be pretty community theatre when she was trying to be the sinister, dark presence where I thought, you're kind of acting here, and it doesn't come off like I'm particularly convinced, especially like, and the booking had a lot to do with it, but her title reign when Toni Storm was kind of right out the way, it's Mariah May's time to, you know, be in the spotlight, literally. Some of those promos weren't no good, and I think that the way WWE does things would, for whatever reason, embrace that bad side of her. It's just a pretty outwardly, we're a show about wrestling, a movie about wrestling, or whatever. I think they would allow her worst impulses to come to the fore as a performer. I think she'd succeed. I don't think it would be as good. I don't know how you would book it, but you would, well, basically, if recent evidence is any indication, you would book it exactly the same as she was booked in AEW, because it's a successful model of prizing talent, and they would just do it. Here's something, right? If I'm AEW, and we've got another question about Mariah May, and I'll cover it at once, and we'll get your thoughts as well, of is it the biggest Tony fumble ever? No, I wish episodic TV, I understand why it doesn't, because the last thing you want to do is, I'll answer this question first, actually, and get to the second one, okay? But there's a little thought exercise. I would kind of be willing to go, all right, okay, Mariah, you can go. You can go if you want. Because eventually, the narrative and perception will shift of, if they do, in fact, fumble Mariah May, and they don't do something as good as the Hollywood ending, which WWE won't through their restrictions and all the rest of it, eventually the conversations will happen of, it wasn't as good as AEW, wasn't as good as AEW, and it's happening already as well. So it's a strategic thing of, okay, I would potentially, if I'm Tony, let her go. I know she's a really good wrestler who's been capable of brilliance. I would still let her go just to keep that conversation ticking. It's that Bret Hart thing of Vince, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of, oh yeah, you can go to WCW. I know they won't book you well. And he kind of sensed they're kind of on the turn and they're losing it a bit. What if they don't do Bret well? They look worse compared to me. So maybe there's an element of that in a weird way, right? If, and I'm not saying this would ever happen, right? If Toni Storm decides to potentially flirt with WWE, a big part of me, and I've got this irrational, do what you want then, like hothead about me, right? A part of me, I know this sounds sacrilegious, right? But for a pure cynical thing, it's all right, go to WWE then. go on, Tony, you can go to WWE. I wouldn't want to see her in WWE. I love watching her in AEW. I think they're the perfect fit.
To your Brett thing, the example there is the Undertaker going to WCW in the 90s.
Yeah.
How do they make dead Mark Calloway
Exactly.
like the Undertaker? How do they make timeless Tony Storm make sense?
She's so hilariously vulgar. A lot of her matches are so violent, but it's the vulgarity. I'm not saying she needs it because it's all you can look at.
Characters should belong because it proves that the landscapes are different.
Yeah, but look at the difference between Tony Storm and 1999 Bubba Ray Dudley. You can't just be vulgar and just get over as this major attraction, which Bubba Ray Dudley in ECW never was. And I'm telling you now, I'll live through it. So I'm not saying it's as easy as that. I don't want to reduce Tony to that. She's got the timing to be vulgar, you know. Like, everything she's done is better than that vaunted Heatwave 99 promo. But if you say Tony Storm, go to the Fed then, go on, see you later, we've done business, see you later. What would WWE do with that? I can almost guarantee, and this is not my personal preferences speaking, right, they would not do something as good as Timeless Tony Storm. They don't have that dog in them. They don't want to do it. Obviously, they're not going to change their entire, like, demo appeal to, you know, accommodate one character and the vulgarity that comes with it. I just don't think they would get the ideas, the spark. They don't have an RJ City. They don't have Tony Storm, or they wouldn't let Tony Storm be Tony Storm. Those are just some fleeting thoughts before I get to the second part of the question.
On that Tony Storm thing, there are certain characters that I think would be smart enough as well to. Cody Rhodes did it. Smart enough to realise how and what you have to shift about yourself.
Yeah.
To make it work in WWE, and I now believe Tony Storm would crack that because she's cracked everything else. And I think it would be a folly to try and bring her in as timeless Tony Storm. And I think that's the one thing that AEW should be very proud of, is that, like, if you are building characters that only work in your world, that is justification.
Means you got a world.
Means you got foundations, you know. On Mariah May, and this is not a dig at Mariah May, I'm like arms folded at anyone coming in. I have reached where you were with AEW about 2 years ago, and what that speaks to is creative decline. And it's only a gentle one. I think by the time that you were at that point with AEW, you were kind of sick of a kind of creative collapse.
Yeah.
I don't think WWE's even really in free fall, but I think it is in gentle decline.
Yeah.
And historically, there is a rush to sign talent to arrest that decline, and I don't think that's the answer.
Nope.
Penta was it for me. Like, my arms folded the second Penta sign, because I was like, I like him, and ultimately at some point, it will drop from this peak, and I think that's happened. Like, gone from loving Penta to liking Penta, and I think WrestleMania was, like, I'd say a reasonable achievement to get him to feel like he was in this cool match at WrestleMania. My arms are already folded on Rey Fenix.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're going to unfold slightly.
Rey Fenix is simply not as bombastic and spectacular as an AEW, and quite frankly, he's not going to be this great all-round TV
told
character.
You that creatively, they've beaten him already. You know, like, they've told...
That was wild.
Eliminated him from Battle Royal and then beat him 24 hours later. They have told you where, like, they're going to ultimately might try and get back to it, but they're going to box Rey Fenix off for the time being, at least.
They're banking on the Lucha Brothers being a thing, and they can do whatever they want to, each of them in the meantime.
Exactly.
I don't think that's a good idea, but that's what they're doing it would look like.
I totally agree. My arms have been folded since Penta signed, and they're going to stay folded for Mariah May, just like they are for Malachi Black. And Miro, I don't care. Like, I think, to answer the question, rather than just ruminate on the state of the business, like, when Tiffany Stratton got called up, everybody went Charlotte Flair dream match, because people love like-for-like graphics, you know? And I think that's what's going to happen. People are going to put the Mariah May, Tiffany Stratton graphics up and be like, they're similar enough, like-for-like, fantasy booking, whatever. And I think WWE will follow that. I think that's about the extent of their Mariah May beat
imagination.
Mariah May gets a win over Mia Yim. She gets a win over Chelsea Green, depending on if she's a heel or a babyface. Kicks around for a bit, wins a Rumble or wins a Chamber. Mariah May versus Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
What then? Don't know.
Yeah.
Like, wins a belt, has a run.
Yeah.
There's enough wrestlers.
Yeah.
There's enough between NXT and WWE's main roster. There is enough wrestlers.
Yeah.
That new signings are just. There's not a guy. Is there anyone? Is there anyone at the moment that I would want to see from AEW come up? Like, Kenny Omega's always the one. I cannot think of a single wrestler from AEW beyond Kenny Omega because of the sheer insanity of the visual.
Yeah.
And because I trust Kenny Omega to... What a sports entertainment, Kenny. I can't think of a single wrestler on that roster beyond that. I was like, yeah, I'm happy where you are at the moment.
Yeah.
You should be in AEW, being your best AEW self.
Yeah.
Over there, you're your best WWE self being... Like, the trades are the least interesting thing to me at the moment.
Mate, same. It's like, I don't get this, like, oh my God, you in a new context. It's overdone, just
they're
like
always
so
cool,
much else.
in theory, on the first night. But lately, Like I've got like
we've seen too much of it.
Trade fatigue. It'll come back around.
Of course it will.
I'm in the building. I'm not in the building. I'm in the city where there's all the excitement around everything happening with Rusev's return. People thought it might be him in the Randy Orton spot that Joe Hendry had. He came back on Raw and he beat up some mid-card. I was like, yep, he sure did.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, if you've been watching wrestling for as long as we have, or certainly if you've even been watching for 20 years, there was a time when you were just literally begging WWE to sign someone. There was no such thing as a jump really pre-AEW, but you were just begging for WWE to sign someone as a big deal, as their authentic self.
Triple H cracked that in NXT.
Yeah, he
would bring them in as themselves.
Yeah.
He's Owens instead of Steen, but the rest of them's that's Kevin Steen, and
it's got to the point now. I'm like, oh god, who's jumping now? It's like everything in pro wrestling. Stop doing so much of it, and then it'll mean something again.
Yeah.
I would like no one to jump of a major name for quite some time, so it means something again. The second question, number 2, from Patrick T. Jenkins, and I'll let you have it. Why is Billy Gunn? Don't know. This
Bowen stuff's
it's absolutely rotten.
It's
not going to work. Not going to work. If you watch him on Collision, like Bowens wins a match, and then like Billy Gunn with his big massive frame gets his arms stretching, his dominating that screen to put them down to his crotch and do the chop.
It's very NXT, this. You know, like Thea Hale. I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm a 5-tool player. It's like, just chuck.
How many tools is that?
That's 5
Oh,
tools.
because I didn't get it the last 10 times he said it.
Wasn't clear from the... I don't know how that's happening. I get it and I don't.
Billy Gunn basically is a very, very... I get the impression anyway, I've never met him, I've never been in AEW backstage or in production meetings or what have you. Seems like an incredibly funny, chatty, gregarious dude to be around who can then leverage that into, I'm going to be on TV.
Yeah.
You know?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's loads of evidence to back that up.
Yeah.
Like,
I think everyone sees through it now.
Yeah.
I think he's taken it too far. At the time when everyone was like, oh, Billy Gunn's really great, I'm thinking, really? I watched his 99 run. I don't know if you did, but I did, sadly, and I'm still, I still got the scars from that time. So I just think that when he was getting over his daddy ass, and it was nice. I didn't even like it that much then. I like the Acclaimed, I like the unit, I like the idea of them.
We had that in-person awakening when, like, hey, we're not going to give the hot tag to Billy Gunn to beat up Brody King, and then they did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an ironic thing.
No, I was onto it, for a few months before that. I just never got it in the same way other people did, and I was like, this will fail. But then again, everything fails at some point, so maybe I'm just ahead of everything. Maybe I'm right to be cynical. Have we got time to go 10 more minutes?
Well, aye.
Vio says, and it's the second part. With Mariah May possibly going to WWE, do you think this is Tony's first actual fumble, or do you think he got the best out of her in AEW? I think it's... So the thing is, I want a certain thing to happen. I understand why it never does. Let me get to this. In a sense, right, Tony Khan has done the best possible thing to solve my issue with episodic TV as a model in pro wrestling and how it just never ends and how that yields so many issues. You'll never get... Look at a prestige drama where there's a villain. They come in. You really actually hate them. They are making life unbearable for the characters that you love. They might even kill them. There's loads of drama, and then they're the ones who get killed off. You simply don't see that anymore in pro wrestling, because it used to happen in the territory era where you would have these, and people keep bringing it up, and I get it. It would be nice. It's too unrealistic. And I've even been guilty of it, right? But I think there's a reason why it just doesn't work. It used to work, the fabled territory run, even if you've never watched the territories or have come into wrestling years after, and you've only heard of it, is a wrestler would go to a new territory. They would win, kill dudes, be basically presented as this unstoppable force. Then the hero would beat them. Or the NWA champion would come in, do a tour of that promotion, take the top local star to their limit, they would draw, and then the champion would go away, and then your guy is like, just took the champion to his limit. The reason why this happened and it worked is because that territory was working indirectly with the next territory that they went to, because there was a partnership between all the promoters under the governing body of the National Wrestling Alliance. It would behoove all territories who are all under one banner to keep their product fresh and to send a star that they had, like, he can go over there, they can come back. And they come back brand new, the fans have missed him or under a new character or having got better or whatever. As much as I would like to see a 1-year deal or a 6-month run and then off you go, under the current way the market operates, this war that is happening, whether you're a WWE fan and don't believe it or not, the last thing you want to do realistically is have a wrestler sign them for 2 years, 18 months, a year, whatever, not 5 years, as too often happens. Push them in this incredible story that just for once ends and they're gone. Because what you're doing really is you are telling a great story and you are not exhausting this talent out in front of your fans for years and years and years. Certain wrestlers I see in AEW to this day and I'm thinking, what are we doing still pushing them? But I know what we're doing, and it's basically draining all interest. So when they're done, you're not basically gift wrapping a wrestler and
Very
saying,
cynical, that, isn't it?
yeah, but it happens.
Yeah.
But you're not gift wrapping a wrestler and saying, WWE, there, it's your turn. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I'd much rather it was the other way. You want it to be one way, it's the other way, you know? The Mariah May thing has really brought that into my thoughts of, like, if you're Tony Khan and you can, you'd probably just have do some stuff, lose some stuff, win some matches, lose some matches for 3 years until she's peaked, and then WWE can do something, but you're not basically gift wrapping her at the hottest. So, yes, I don't think he's fumbled her. Like, he's presented her in a way that makes WWE fans desperate to see it. How could that possibly be a fumble? It's just, if you're him, it's going to appear like a fumble because she's played the game magnificently. Short a deal, whether it was her idea or not, trusted herself to really get over to a point now where she's the biggest free agent in wrestling when her contract comes up. I would like to see more of it, so much more of the Mariah May arc. You come in, there's a long-term plan, you execute it to perfection, your character run is over, you might go to another place. I can absolutely see why, given this recent example, why it never happens, and quite frankly, I feel naive for pitching it a few years ago.
It feels, I know this is like utopian and stuff, but part of that territory philosophy, whether they realised they were doing it or not, what is it called? You'll know this, it's not the 3-act structure, is it? But is it like establishment, disestablishment, re-establishment, or something like that? Something like that in the middle, where the middle part, the disruption, exists to be fixed and return it to somebody who's going to correct me with the exact terminology. It's a media thing, isn't it? But like territories, whether they knew it or not, were borrowing from that. All films and television start with this established world, and then something disrupts it, and then by the end, it's got back round to like an updated version of the original. But like you can leave that world knowing that everything is all right again. Yeah. But the disruptions are kind of the exciting bit in the middle. That fundamentally was how that territorial booking style worked, and everybody won because the wrestlers would get to stay fresh and paid everywhere they bounced to, and the territory would like have just reinstalled faith in its champion, who was kind of like fix the world. I would love that, and I genuinely believe, and Mariah May is a good example because it's fresh and we're still relatively in the shadow of the Hollywood ending. I think it's good for the company, less so for WWE, but I think it's good for AEW to have runs like that. Because this idea that AEW can...
They'll never see it that way.
No, wrestling companies won't. This is what I'm saying, it's utopian. Like, the idea that Tony Storm, the character in the world of Tony Storm, was established and set up and people loved it. And then Mariah May became the disruptor. And then Tony Storm fixed that disruption and returned everything to status quo. It's a really nice feeling as a viewer.
Yeah.
Like, you get to see your champion, your babyface.
How much more over is Tony Storm now?
Exactly, right? She is... A massive earthquake has happened in her world, and she's cleaned up and she's fixed it. And you get to feel even better about your hero that she's done that. That's so much more satisfying than the heel. Like, yeah, she's fixed the world, but the heel's still there and like just kicking around. Yeah. Is it really fixed? Did she really fix anything? WWE used to do it over the course of one episode of Raw. Steve Austin comes out, hey, the Austin world. Vince McMahon's like, that's what you think, I'm the disruptor. And then by the end, like 1 hour, 59 minutes, you're not going to bloody believe it. You're back where you started. Like, that as a thing for AEW, I genuinely think has contributed to one of the so much of the positivity around it.
Yeah,
like Hangman Page's character exists to be that. It's an endless loop of everything's cool, disruption. We've got to get back to cool again. Yeah, that's how this character continues to feel fresh and new all the time. don't know. It's not going to happen with everybody. It's not. 5-year deals exist for wrestlers to feel secure and companies to feel secure that they're not. The WWE releases are extremely tactical in this regard. Look how the conversations are changing. And I don't want to name names because that would be cruel. But WWE are very shrewd in who they release in. Yes, there are going to be certain circles of fans that say, what? AEW are going to snap them up day one. But it's not as obvious as that anymore, is it?
Yeah.
You look at the list and there's like nuanced debates about, right, who do AEW need right now? TNA might snap up.
Yeah.
Does AEW really need that wrestler? And again, that's why I'm not naming names, because we'll all have our own opinions on the releases. But I think they take that in mind.
Yeah.
I think they look very carefully. It's not just like, there was a period where it was like Nick Khan's spreadsheet, wasn't it? I think it's more nuanced than that now. Yes, they'll look at a Braun Strowman and be like, he's on a lot of money. We could save a lot of money here. But a lot of the wrestlers, they'll be looking and going like, will AEW definitely take them? And if the answer is no, they become more releasable.
Yeah.
Like, I do genuinely...
For a while it was, will AEW take them? Yes, give them. Because,
he's a favourite of ours, and right now the numbers are in his favour with things like T-shirts and video views. But WWE would not release Karrion Kross at the moment.
No.
He's way too over with a cult fan base at AEW. Like, we need to take a punt on him. He's bringing an audience with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it as well. Mariah May brings this audience, but I think like AEW is better for her thing just being done.
Yeah.
Really do.
Yeah. I think we've got time for 2 quick questions. Dan Rogers, send that question again next week. It's something I want to go more in depth on. It's a Mega Okada themed.
Oh, okay.
I'd be here too long, and he's got a SmackDown preview to get to. If it wasn't so self-indulgent, it wouldn't take so long.
Backlash as well. There's big things. John Cena versus Randy Orton, ever heard of it?
Well, you are going to get to that imminently, sir. After Kevin Flannery asks, thoughts on Mercedes Moné tech service. Does the highest paid woman in wrestling need to be conning some poor sod out of $100 a month? If you are stupid enough to think that you are going to have a very personal relationship with Mercedes Moné and become fast friends with her by forking out $100 a month, is it too harsh of me to say that you deserve to be conned? It does. It's maybe I'm being too cynical there, right? I do try not to be, on occasion. Maybe it's a little bit exploitative because some pro wrestling fans need it. They need it. They don't have amazing lives. Not everyone has an amazing life. Even the lives you look at is amazing on the surface. No one's got an amazing life. They don't. Maybe there is the idea of someone who needs pro wrestling to get out of a situation or to escape from a situation, and then this fuels that parasocial sense that is not healthy for anyone. And there's layers to it because there's always a reason why people want to be parasocial. Maybe this is encouraging that ugly side of celebrity fan interaction. And if people need pro wrestling as an outlet, and this will give them the idea of, oh God, I'm friends with Mercedes Moné. Maybe that is cheap and exploitative and a little bit gross. At the same time, I mean, come on, grow up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that thing on, you ever seen that episode of Catfish? Where that person has been giving incontrovertible proof, as if it were needed, that the girlfriend is not Katy Perry, that online girlfriend is not Katy Perry. And then they get the person and they're saying, I know this about you because we've had conversations. It was me and not Katy Perry. It was me and not Katy Perry. This really information about your life that you've kept secret. I know it because you've not been speaking to Katy Perry online. It's me and I am not Katy Perry. Do you think it's Katy Perry still? Yeah, I do. It's like, I mean, these are people with like pretty severe mental health delusions and stuff. So maybe it does suck.
People that just want to spend their money on, like, I don't like an exploitative side. It's really tricky, this, because we're talking about...
But they're carnies. I mean, you should know.
We're talking about the consumer at the end, aren't we? Like, there's one consumer that you've just described. There's another consumer that just has money to spend. And if they're not hurting anybody, like, who we just want to spend their cash on?
This is
like, that $100 a month is like... Two T-shirts, like
I think these people are daft.
Some people can join the WWE T-shirt club and like get your monthly T-shirt for the same price or thereabouts. I just don't. If it's money, the money to burn, people, go and do what you like. You're not hurting anybody with getting a text off Mercedes Moné, just as you're not subscribing to a wrestler's OnlyFans or whatever you can spend money on with your favorite.
Do what you want. Do what you want.
Your side of it is just as valid, I think, but they're not ever going to know who's pressing pay on the $100, are they? I wouldn't.
Or who's in charge? Who's got the phone in their hand?
Yeah,
Just probably not Mercedes Moné.
I wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily like say, "Hey, treat yourself to Mercedes Moné text," but like
the things that wrestling fans spend their money on, it will continue to bamboozle me. Just so you know, if you go to whatculture.com/shop, get some great merchandise.
There's a great range of merch.
Great range of merch on the shop.
And for just $101, we will be opening up a text to Dadley's service.
Would you pay for that?
This is it, you see. Then all of a sudden, like, the kind of wheels start turning. You're like, wait a minute. Like, if you want to drop some Mercedes money, shoot cash. Like,
would you pay for that?
This is the point.
One more question, because Hamflett's got to record a SmackDown preview. I hope you like Gladiators. Marcel Laviolette.
People do.
And I'm just going to...
More than AW.
I'm just going to... No, more than WWE. I'm just going to push this on to Hamflett because I'm not the biggest Cena guy, and I imagine you are invested in Cena since you're asking about him, and I don't want to be horrible. Yeah. What could save the retirement run of John Cena match angle promo?
I don't know. The Rock really screwed everything up, buddy. Like,
Paul Levesque screwed it up.
No, they both screwed it up. They're both in this stupid little ego war, and
it's funny.
It's funny for you, and I get that. It's cost people like me quite a lot.
I'm going to be nice now and zip it.
The John Cena stuff, he has got it in him to get this right, but, and it's an enormous but, at the moment, he is getting more of it wrong. What will save it is, I'm pleased to report, is just good creative. And thankfully, there is still the opportunity for just good creative. I thought the promo that he cut on the post-WrestleMania Raw was excellent. I thought the countdown clock in the background.
I like the countdown clock, and I like the R-Truth thing.
His ability to, like, years of just remembering that garbage toilet material he was given and recite it perfectly.
He loved it.
Was actually... Oh, he loved it. I hated it. That skill that he developed at that time can be used to good effect, because that was a lot to recall and a lot to get right, that he had to get right in order for that promo to land, and it massively landed, and people were actually angry at him. A Vegas crowd that was otherwise very kind to him over that week in Vegas finally found something to boo about him. The R-Truth thing is means something to people, and they're going to get something out of that, and that'll be quite nice. His best in-ring...
They can get a TV match for the ages out of that if they want.
His best in-ring by a mile, quelle surprise, was with CM Punk, right? So that's going to be awesome. Like, based on the evidence we have to work with, that's going to be awesome. And I would still campaign for that to be, especially on the strength of how shocking the Cody match was. That, to me, is that's your December program.
No, that's night 2 of WrestleMania. Oh, no, because he's not doing WrestleMania.
Unless he does. Unless he says, like, you know. I said I was going to... I've enjoyed ruining wrestling. I'm going to ruin WrestleMania.
What was the last proper good John Cena match? The one even I couldn't deny.
What, not including the Chamber? Because that was good stuff.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm going to get to.
It goes beyond AJ Styles at the Rumble, but probably not very far. Like, and that was 2017.
That's still what I was getting at, is that stuff with Punk in the Chamber was the first time I saw, oh, God, there's an actual guy who still knows how to do it in there against Punk at the Chamber.
Yeah.
Punk could win that title.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like, John Cena saying I'm leaving WWE, and I'm leaving with the WWE Championship.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice. It's nice if nothing else. And, like, he's blessed to have, like, his in-ring soulmate, isn't he, with CM Punk there to do some business with. Do you know what, right? On this, because I could go a long time on John Cena, this Randy Orton stuff's the right thing to do.
Oh, you're not going to say that on Monday, buddy.
The match is going to stink.
So why is it good?
It always stunk, buddy. It always stunk.
So why are we doing it then? Why is it perfect?
Different flavour of stink. This is exactly what you do. Like, the reactions in that building, this is that John Cena desperately needs unanimous hatred. Needs it.
Okay.
St. Louis against Randy Orton in this, like, ultimate dynamic flip.
It's not even that much of a draw, though, Orton. In his hometown.
There's like what, 1,000 tickets are left, like less left. They're going to do all right. It's already whatever it is, like 50.
He'll get a baby.
They're going to go
reaction.
nuts for him, right?
If nothing else.
It's like, this has got, like, for more than just the obvious, this has got, like, Hogan Warrior Halloween Havoc written all over it, right? But John Cena needs this match at this exact time, because there is way too much of it's the Sod's Law thing that has happened. A lot of people that always wanted heel John Cena have got him, and are now like, well, it's pretty good, this. Like, Cena. That's not John Cena's fault. That's The Rock's fault, right? But ultimately, after this, he needs somebody else that can be just as big a babyface. And I am looking around. I don't know who they've got. Who's the guaranteed babyface that's going to get Cena booed? Because Cody couldn't do it.
Okay.
Orton in St. Louis is the only one I can think of. Is there anyone on this roster?
You've convinced me. So well done for that. And well done for you for staying with us for as long as you have. This was questions you most want answered.
Some would call it quite indulgent.
And a little bit of a demo for a new feature-length podcast. Let us know your thoughts on that and on everything we have discussed at WhatCulture WWE or in the comments below, or at Michael Hamflett or at M. Sidgwick. On your podcast feeds today, you will get a SmackDown preview. And I don't know if you're getting a Wrestle Culture this week, actually, because we've got some staff absences. We'll see how it shakes out, but you'll get some great stuff next week of that, I am sure. Thank you very much for joining us today. Again, if you want to get involved in future, follow us all at M. Sidgwick, at Michael Hamflett, at WhatCulture WWE. And if you follow us, you will see that we solicit your questions most weeks for this sort of thing. Can I just say one thing? I'm not very good at fantasy booking. I'm just not very good at it. It's a sort of thing that if I was to do it and be good at it, I would have to write it down. So it's not very something I can do off the top of my head in this format. So more questions that allow me to rant and rave will get prioritized. Just a tip from the top. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much for joining us again today. Don't forget to like on Twitter our stuff. That was the YouTube stuff. Can't do outros. So I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead.